Let's get things started with our first keynote of Streaming Media West 2015. Corey Smith is a senior engineering manager with Microsoft, managing the broadcast solutions team for Xbox Live. Corey and his team have delivered some of the largest broadcasts on the internet, and today he will discuss the world of live broadcasting for Xbox events and will detail Microsoft Xbox's approach to linear and live broadcast streaming. And be sure to stick around for the Q&A after his presentation, as we will be giving away an Xbox to one lucky questioner. So stay tuned for that. Jose Castillo, who is helping making sure everything runs on time. If you've been here before, you know Jose. He and I will be coming around the audience with microphones to take questions, and Jose will be announcing the winner of the Xbox after the Q&A. So without further ado, please welcome Corey Smith from Xbox.
Good morning, Stream Media West 2015. It's an exciting morning, not only for Xbox, but for the media industry in general. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. So with that, I'll jump in, say thanks to Stream Media for allowing Xbox to come speak to you guys this morning. It's a great honor for us to come and share our story. So without further ado, the Broadcast Solutions team was created in 2010 primarily to bring high quality HD live events to the Xbox world. It wasn't always smooth at first, as any startup can attest to, but we've broadcasted over 100 events in 42 countries currently at present time. Some of those events we'll get to here in the next slide or so. Kind of detail some of the lessons learned and some of the things that we've actually experienced during our major events. But we're not only live events, but we've built a video on demand services platform as well to support the Xbox Live ecosystem in terms of game trailers and first and third party content as it gets added to the service. There's a ton of video being curated and actually published to Xbox Live as an ecosystem. What we've been doing the last couple of years as well is building a linear IPTV services layer as well. And we're going to actually let you guys kind of take a look at some of that in a little bit. But our video on demand services is critical to Xbox because we're in 42 countries. We are time shifted constantly between European, APAC, Australia, LATAM, North American time zones. So when we have a live event going on, typically, not everybody is awake. It's not always prime time in those particular regions. So our video on demand services gives the ability of those other markets to be able to take part and watch the presentation as it would have been live. Our partner ecosystem also enables us to deliver broadcast quality video anywhere in the world. We bring in a global audience to Xbox, and because of that, we need to be able to scale those video solutions across the globe. And with the power of Xbox and Windows 10, we've got one of the largest first-party broadcast footprints on the planet. So some of our live events, one of the largest ones we've done is the Xbox One reveal a couple years ago. We've also done music and award shows, iHeartRadio Festival, Golden Gods. We've done some esports tournaments, Battlefield, Halo, Call of Duty. And then we're typically the team that does the E3 and Gamescom keynotes for Microsoft. We broadcast those both on the web and on the Xbox. Those keynotes we've been actually doing since 2012. But let's go back to the Xbox One reveal. The Xbox One reveal was quite the show for us, mainly because the event itself drew so much attention. People wanted to figure out what the Xbox One was really about. What are we actually presenting? What is it actually going to do for the gaming industry? Well, the gamer backlash aside, it was a great event. It posted over 2.5 million concurrent users. That pushed 3.7 terabits per second in edge from a CDN perspective. In the course of the hour-and-a-half show, we pushed 3.2 petabytes worth of content over the internet. We did 11 languages in real time, and we'll get to a traffic flow diagram of how we acquired signal and sent it halfway around the world and back for the UN-style translation. And we did it on multi-platform, console, mobile, PC. Some of our events have actually not been in the continental United States. We've actually had events in Europe that are specific to those particular markets. We did a BMX style freestyle event out of Estonia, which was pretty wild to do, but we downlinked that signal in London, and through our partnership with iStream Planet, was able to backhaul the signal back to the US. And co-profile optimizations. So a lot of the things that we go through on a regular basis is how do we get the highest quality video we can out of both our Xbox and out of our encoding stack and our origin systems. So one of the things that we've done is we've partnered pretty heavily this last year with Azure Media Services from an origin standpoint for repackaging and just-in-time repackaging work on VOD. So HSS, smooth stream to Azure ingest point for repackaging. The reason why we do that as opposed to RTMP is because of the multi-language attachments that we can actually get out of Smooth that we can't with RTMP. The stream density reduction. In 2014, we had 44 streams going live at one particular time, and that was for the Xbox One reveal, or E3. So each language had to be broken down per origin, per language. So you're broadcasting 11 languages across HSS, HDS, and HLS. You're talking about a massive payload of events that have to go out for both 360 support, iOS, Android, and Xbox. In 2015, because of our relationship with Azure as an origin perspective, the repackaging, we went down to 4 streams. Quite a significant savings. Overall reducing not only the complexity of the live event, but also directly affecting the ROI of how much we have to spend per event to get it out the door. The power of Azure tooling. There's a set of filtering that we can actually do on the origin side to rapidly fast follow VOD. So in point, out point, just like you're editing online video. And we can have VOD up and running globally within minutes after the event is completed. The business logic aligns to our bit rates across our devices. So instead of sending a full payload that we'd send to the Xbox, we can reduce that and send specific bit rates to different device sets, whether they're tablets or mobile handsets or PC. And Azure's really helped us with our back compatibility support for Xbox 360, continuing to allow us to push technology forward while maintaining our 360 compatibility. So some of the components of our live events, we use several different aspects, one of which is the Microsoft Production Studios. If you're not familiar with Microsoft Production Studios and what they do, I would invite you to check them out on the web. It's a full service production environment. This is where we do our satellite and fiber acquisition of typical broadcast signals. It's also our master control, and we would do most of our audio and video post-production work. And right there you can see several, I'll break out the Pow green laser pointer. So right here is one of our audio ACR rooms. And then basically these other pictures here are from our master control suite during a live event. So we actually take traditional broadcast television standards to the Xbox from a production standpoint, from a services standpoint. Our CDN services, we're multi-CDN enabled, so we have global scale at reach. We apply security via our CDN environments, both for embargoed content and both for tokenized URL of streams, supporting PlayReady and DRM. We also do a lot of server-side acceleration for our services layer. So most of the stuff you're going to see later on in the demo is actually all built in Azure. And so from a scalability standpoint, we want to make sure that when we go to broadcast, somebody plugs into that event and they're right there in the last mile. So it looks and feels like it's local. Our TV platform services, that's where we do a lot of our graphics compositing, our real-time social media inserts, integrating Twitter and Facebook, and any kind of editorial content from a social perspective that we want to add to our broadcast. Our media playout and scheduling engine, this is kind of the heart and core of the linear OTT platform itself. And then our ad insert and programming abilities, both on the origin side and the client side perspective. So we can have the ability of dropping in what is you could call national ad sponsorships, like Coca-Cola or whoever for that particular event, but then we also can sell local ads to the local audiences in Los Angeles, New York, London, wherever. And they can buy those ad blocks, and it's all stitched in seamlessly on the client. Components continued, our Azure services. Again, play-ready DRM, dynamic DRM of our live streams. VOD storage and playback, the encoding, the just-in-time repackaging, geodiverse origin architecture that ensures that we have HA and DR thought about the entire length of our broadcast, both from an encoder all the way out to our CDN delivery on the edge. Rapid VOD clipping, and our HTML5 web client. And I'll get to more about the HTML5 web client here shortly, but we use a basic set of HTML5 client tech to support our web broadcast today. Our encoding and IP conversion, because if you're acquiring signals via satellite and fiber, you still have to convert to IP at some point. This is kind of where some of the traditional broadcast comes in. But as we go more towards an IP-based world, we're getting more involved with Zixi and doing a trial with Octoshape and other types of IP delivered content. But Elemental is probably our primary conversion method from a traditional broadcast endpoint. And our Xbox Live platform, this allows us to do in-box commerce activity on the actual Xbox itself, and then our user authentication, because we want to be able to track our users to be able to actually figure out what they're looking at, where they're going on the console, what part of the ecosystems are they actually touching, so we can actually gain better metrics on how our user journey actually looks from an end user perspective. And then we can go program specific experiences around what it is they're doing and get better at trending. CDN Integrated Services. Services infrastructure at scale. So this is actually interesting, where some of our the CDN delivery itself, so some of our total bandwidth and total hits. This is an event earlier this year, actually. And you can see 99.9% offload. I want 1 or 2 events actually coming back to origin, no more than 400 megabits per second. That ensures origin health, that ensures your edge traffic is going to be healthy, and you're not going to have to deal with any fires, right? The worst part is not having a CDN config in place that's actually tuned and tweaked for your actual event. And when that load comes into origin and craters it, your event falls over. So one of the things here you can look at is the origin responses. Very, very, very thin little blue line right there, right? Total hits, 2 billion edge hits. 3.8 million origin hits. Significant number difference. So we use CDN for a lot of things, both our delivery surface acceleration, storage, media streaming, DVR, URL tokenization, DDoS prevention, some of our site shield or DSA-like implementations that we do to accelerate our service layer traffic. And then obviously analytics. As you see here, the user locations by top country. It doesn't always play out like this, but this is pretty typical for an event on Xbox. The US being first, and United Kingdom, and so on. So some of our partners, we use quite an array of partners to do what it is that we do. We're really a hybrid model. We're not all in on one particular piece of technology or piece of tech or code or anything like that. But I call this the NASCAR slide because everybody has them. Whether you're a small shop or you're a large shop, you have your partners in your ecosystem. So I use this slide to kind of give people a shout out. I'm not gonna have any like crazy, tire screeching sound effects or anything like that, but it's kind of where we play right now. So Windows Azure, Microsoft Production Studios, and Akamai, Limelight, Sodexis for load balancing. Hibernia Media does a lot of our transport from a baseband fiber perspective. PSSI Global Satellite Services, Grass Valley is kind of the core of the linear OTT system. We utilize their ITX platform for linear transmission. Signiant Aspera for content ingest and moving large bits of pieces of information from A to B. Our freewheel integration from an ad stitching standpoint, so we can actually stitch it directly into the broadcast and not get beat by kind of the ad blocker technology that's out there today, and Splunk for some of our back-end kind of telemetry on the service. One of the most amazing things this year, actually, too, is the Windows, Azure, and Akamai partnership, where Akamai is now a white label CDN provider for all of Azure. So you can build all your stuff within Azure and then front it with Akamai. You could front it with Limelight Networks as well, which is what we do today. But not everybody has that option because of either technical limitations or just resources to manage it on a day-to-day. At one point, we had 7 different CDN providers delivering Xbox One content at launch. Some of our live platform workflow. It's kind of a basic diagram. But the point is, satellite acquisition, fiber, goes into our ITX master control switchers. Those go into the playout channels. Here's our kind of Aspera Signate ingest. Once the VOD assets are encoded, they get scheduled into the ITX playout. Then our social integration system is actually a software integration package from Quest that actually does the direct editorializing of social media into the ITX platform. Once it hits live encoders, it goes out to our east-west Azure origin infrastructure, and then globally load balanced from a CDN perspective across Sidexis. This is our two-way interactive stuff here. Again, all the things that you're going to see today at the technical demo is all real. There's nothing canned. There's no video of me playing against a video that you'll see. Everything is live. We're doing a live production demo here later on. And then the ad stitching engine, obviously. One of the things that's interesting from this perspective is we got Microsoft Production Studios as a world-class facility to help host and manage our content. So whether it becomes antennas for satellite acquisition or services for fiber transmission, they're a strategic partner for us in helping Xbox do what we do every day. I'll let this slide sink in for a couple of seconds here. This was the live transmission diagram for our Xbox One launch event, or Xbox One reveal. Because we didn't do language translation locally in Redmond, we had to send signal halfway around the world to London to do it. So we partnered with a couple companies over there. And basically, because of the number of audio channels that we had to bring back, we had to double up on all of our fiber transmission and satellite transmission. So if we follow the diagram here, Microsoft Commons, where Xbox is headquartered out of, there's a big soccer field in which we erected a big tent, and that's where the presentation was actually done. So from there, we send fiber to Microsoft Production Studios, and then we send that signal all the way across the world to BT Tower. And this is only about a 45 millisecond delay here. Handed off to Input Media, who did our language translation. This is UN style, 11 languages translated in real time. Those feeds were then remuxed back to our return path, fiber all the way back here to Building 127, and then we had alternate satellite paths going back as well via Hibernian networks. Once we got the signal back here in Building 127, we have to then demux all the audio channels, remux them back to the original video tracks, and then resend them from a routing standpoint back down to the encoders. And again, when we do 11 languages in real time across the different streaming formats without repackaging, as we do currently today, drove our stream count to 44 during this event on a 1 gigabit circuit. The guys at 127, or our production partners, actually were freaking out because we were redlining about 980 megabits per second across that 1 gig link. Which is, and also the CDN guys are getting a little nervous when we pass 3.2 terabits as well. So, but my team's primary responsibility was to set up all this routing and pathing as well, not just the acquisition single, but actually getting the solution for the multi-language put in place. Pretty massive undertaking. We're actually upgrading routers at BT Tower and Hibernia, New York to account for the additional audio channels that we're having to bring back. So, live platform highlights from our perspective. Our live events go out actually at a top bit rate of 11 megabits per second. It's almost unheard of from a web broadcasting perspective when people are still trying to figure out what 6 looks like, or 3.5 if you're looking at traditional web broadcasting today. So repackaging HSS, HLS, MPEG-Dash. We see a lot of MPEG-Dash now, both on the PC, Android devices, and we can even run it on Xbox One now with the power of Windows 10. The Edge browser within the console itself actually supports MPEG-Dash streaming now. Two-way interactive engagement. This is our ability to kind of go out and bring the audience into the broadcast and not just let them be spectators the entire time. Dynamic user playlist manipulation. This actually goes back to modifying on the fly based on customer input the playout order of our channel. So kind of a many-to-one kind of broadcasting mix where the actual audience chooses the direction of the broadcast. So it becomes interactive to that particular degree, but not too interactive and too specialized for each individual person that it becomes kind of a mess to manage. Direct commerce integration. This is our ability to actually upsell as an impulse counter during an actual event. If you're talking about the latest map pack for Call of Duty or Borderlands or some other kind of game pack, we can direct upsell you into our digital marketplace right there on the spot. So we're also preparing for next-gen media, right? As I said, we're doing MPEG-Dash quite a bit this year. HEVC, UHD, 4K. You know, there's a lot of talk about that being kind of the next gen of stuff, but I think we're still years out. I don't think there's enough content being generated in the field to actually warrant going all in on 4K right now. Plus, with the HDR standards still kind of in flux a bit, it's hard to both match the encoders, match the television sets, and even the codec support on the actual devices you're playing back on. And I actually have a theory that HDR with 1080p, 60, it's actually gonna have a faster uptick in the market than traditional or a full-out 4K. You can buy a TV that supports 4K today, but does it support the HDR spec? Is it actually going to give you that color profile, that rich depth color that HDR promises? And then obviously IP-based contribution streams, Zixi, Octoshape, RTMP. So we have a number of different options, both on the streaming and acquisition side. Some of our VOD platform workflow. A lot of all this particular work here is all Signiant Media Shuttle. It's actually a very, very killer service for us to use. It's just an HTTP portal, right? Log in, upload your content via the portal, lands in our backend. Our file listeners pick up that content, encode it, push it out, send email delivery notification. The content's now ready to program. This whole workflow from upload all the way to hosting on CDN is under 10 minutes. Some of our VOD platform highlights, just to get a sense of how much media we're actually encoding and ingesting on a regular basis. Between FY14 and FY15, this last year, we saw a 61% increase in the amount of jobs we were actually encoding. People are doing more with video because it's a better medium to distribute your message and story. During the first 90 days of FY16 this year, 25% increase in deliverables. That puts us on pace to actually be much higher than we were even in FY15. And our infrastructure improvements that we've been making from an encoder and origin optimization allows it, we've actually got 100% improvement in the process queue times. Again, our goal was to be under 10 minutes per particular piece of content. And if we look at the total numbers, the job counts, video duration hours, 70,000 video duration hours. And we're busy all the time. If you look at the VOD platform highlights, we've got content coming in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The pipeline must constantly be flowing. So what's up with Xbox? The newer stuff that we've been working on in the last year or so. Well, our XAI client and our OTT linear services. So far right now, we've got over 4 million clients deployed on Xbox One from an XAI standpoint. That's our broadcast flagship product that we have on the X1 today. We have more than 10 million clients deployed on 360. That's why it's critical for us to have that backwards compat support. As people move from the 360 ecosystem to the Xbox One, we don't want to lose them in the transit. So we have to go back and support 360. We want them to have the same ability to join our broadcast and watch our messaging, and it's still actually a supported platform. So, and millions of others watch via our web broadcasts. Most of the time, when we're doing just a regular random event, Call of Duty tournament or something, we'll get 250,000 people concurrent. And that's a very, very quick ramp, too. Within the first few minutes, we go from maybe 5,000 people to 36,000, 72,000, et cetera. I mean, they're huge, giant leaps. A lot of the local localization that we're actually doing is in near real time, and we'll actually allow you to select those languages as you see fit, if you want to hear Italian, German, French, et cetera. Our linear and on-demand scheduling engine, again, this is kind of a platform we've been building right now for first party. Folks that want to actually build a linear OTT channel within Xbox or Microsoft today, we're building a platform for that now. Multi-channel audio, Dolby. It's interesting that half the experience is audio. Why are we still broadcasting in stereo? Right? You're buying a $400 device for your living room, plugged into your $2,000 television, and you're going to hear stereo? So we have full feature capability for encode and decoded Dolby 5.1 and even 7.1. We're FCC compliant from a noise reduction and closed captioning standpoint. We have to meet those as federal guidelines, like anybody else. Right? Our ad stitch integration, both Edge and Origin, talked about that earlier. So we really give the ads and marketing teams the ability to program the content from an ad perspective where they want. That makes it more convenient for their content and for their users they're targeting. Social experiences are integrated directly in the platform. Again, that's with some of our Quest integration. And also just taking raw RSS, JSON, XML, and structurally make it consumable on the console as graphical overlays and those kind of things. We're commerce integrated, so we want to upsell our users. We want to make some money doing this. We're not just here to stream video because we like video, right? Branching narrative experiences. This is actually an interesting thing that's within the Microsoft ecosystem has actually taken a lot of, there's been a lot of excitement around that particular feature, where you can actually kind of understand, you go out and buy a DVD or Blu-ray traditionally, and there's a bunch of extras on that disc, right? Cutscenes, outtakes, all that kind of stuff. Well, our branching narrative experiences allows for that main linear timeline to go on, but we branch the user off to go watch those if they so choose to do so in real time, and then we bring them back right where the point of where they left the original broadcast, or the original linear timeline. We want to make our web experience consistent with console. That's actually something we're working on right now. So the experience you'll see on Xbox One in a little bit will be exactly the same experience we have on the web. We don't want to abandon those users. We don't want to miss the commerce opportunities. We don't want to miss the monetization opportunities within the web versus console broadcast. And now the Xbox One is now driven with the power of Windows 10, which is huge. So we get the same codec support as PC. We get the same streaming support from a player perspective as Windows 10 on the PC. So there's a lot of good things coming out of the Windows 10 operating system and Xbox. Again, user-driven interactive television. We can actually take this experience, pull the audience, get detailed information back, Based on what it is that the user community has been answering, we can actually send that data back down to real time at the event site and actually dynamically change the course of the show. Whether it's an award broadcast or there's a special interest call-in type programming, whatever it happens to be. The point is that we can directly get information from our audience at scale, bring it back to show site, dynamically change the course of the outcome of the event. So live events or television programming is no longer on rails. It's no longer a linear end-to-end experience. There's all kinds of nuances that we can influx into the event itself. Direct or impulse-driven commerce. So you're watching an event. Again, here's an example of Halo 5 Guardians. We want to do a pre-order. We want to do some kind of interaction from a marketplace standpoint, where we pop you out. You're still watching the event. It's still right here, still running live, but we're taking you to our digital marketplace for you to actually take part in a commerce opportunity as an impulse, directly on the spot engagement with our user community. Extended or branch narrative experience. This is kind of what we're talking about a little bit ago. I can actually say, watch now on a particular event that may have some relevance here. I don't know about, whoa, what the hell happened there? Excuse me. That sucks. That's why we do this live. I probably hit the wrong button, stop or something. So anyways, I'm not sure what Red Bull flu tag had anything to do with our Xbox One E3 show, but this is as an example. Branching narrative experience from watch now directly into the experience where we're actually watching the Red Bull flu tag crashes. But yet we're still in the actual event itself. We're still watching this linear stream here as it's snapped to that side of the screen. Some of the interesting things about our user engagement on these interactive offers and the interactive layers that we present our customer users. This is a kind of a week of a show that we actually produce and publish every Friday on engagement numbers. You see the unique users, 66,000 people actually tuned in and watched. But 35,000 of those people actually clicked on some kind of overlay or offer on the actual broadcast itself. Over 50% of people that watched clicked on something. We can attach a dollar figure to that. We can track that user through the ecosystem and figure out, did they buy something or did they not buy something? Were they interested in videos, not marketing opportunities? Or did they want to just kind of just ghost through the event? So over 50% click-through rate on interactive offers. That's huge. That's eyeballs on the screen for longer. That's direct user engagement from a being able to actually say that I've engaged my audience. The audience is actually interested in what I'm broadcasting. Huge. And then obviously this big down ramp here is because the dash only has so much space and they actually end up deprogramming the event. So then the clicks dramatically drop, right? So our ability to not have dash space is actually causing us not to be able to monetize the rest of the week. That's missed opportunity and revenue. It's missed user experiences. Now I'm going to play a demo, hopefully the video. Hopefully the video actually works. And it'll kind of give you an idea of some of the things that we do at Xbox from a setup standpoint. Excuse me while I play this. This will kind of give you, this is a video that we produced for our internal teams to kind of get an idea of what it is the live events team actually does, what it takes to actually put on a broadcast.
A live broadcast can have hundreds of people working on it.
Everything from the camera people to the stage managers to the director to the associate director to the segment producers, the people who are actually generating the content for each of the interviews that are going to be done.
Usually we start 6 to 9 months in advance of a live event.
We spend a lot of time in meetings, making sure that we're ready when we hit the ground.
And then we go through rehearsals, and we rehearse with the talent, we rehearse with the graphics, we rehearse with the interactivity, we rehearse with the cameras to make sure this show is flawless when it's time to go live.
At the end of the day, about 150 to 200 people have to come together to execute successfully.
What we try to do is differentiate our quality and our distribution, not only to reach as many customers as possible, but also we try to make the experience as you were watching traditional television or traditional satellite television.
We bring the right teams together, often engaging multiple vendors from around the globe to really create a solution that meets those goals end to end and just makes a fantastic project.
We spend a lot of time making sure that whatever broadcast we put out scales to meet the demand of our customer base.
We've been innovating in this space for the last 2.5 years. You can actually tune into our streams and visually see the quality difference between what you're getting in our IP delivered stream versus other streams.
We're doing true broadcast quality on both 360 and Xbox One today.
I don't think there's a broadcast network that can match Xbox for its reach and the consistency of that reach.
Up until recently, we haven't really had the ability to message directly to the people that we care about most. But now we actually have a managed channel that allows us to talk directly to the people that we care about.
You can speak directly to that kind of elusive marketer's dream audience, and then when you attract them into great content and you give them a way to interact with that content in real time, we're the only ones that can offer true two-way interactivity that's tailored to the content that you're watching.
Xbox has so much potential in the bandwidth and the quality of the media that you can deliver right into the living room on an Xbox console, the interactivity you can bring to allow consumers and audiences to interact with it. We have an amazing advantage there that is just the sky's the limit.
I think that the opportunity will be to evolve the technology, to bring in more interactivity, to bring the community into the broadcast.
For people to be able to watch the event and be able to click right there and purchase from the store and get whatever game it is they're seeing, or add on, or sign up for a beta, to be able to vote and interact.
We have a completely new experience, so we can tie in retail, we can tie in polling, we can tie in Twitter, Facebook, things that we haven't really been able to do in the past.
I think we definitely have the edge. We have much more experience. The teams behind the scenes on the engineering side and the technical capability that Microsoft brings to the table, I think, puts us definitely in front.
Pretty impressive video, right? The scale in which we all as broadcasters have to deal with sometimes in terms of pre-production, production, and post-production. How do we ensure that what we're broadcasting is actually compelling content? So a fascinating journey we've had over the several years now. If we could switch over to the Xbox. So just so you know, this is a real Xbox One. There's, very limited ways for me to fake this. So part of our broadcast strategy is our XDI client right now, which is we call the Interactive Edition. This is our ability to directly reach and talk to our community at scale. So I'm going to go ahead and run this video. Hopefully the bandwidth in the room is going to work out for us. This is a real Xbox One. There's, very limited ways for me to again fake this. We're watching the live stream on an Xbox One from what just happened minutes ago from the right now, which is we call the Interactive Edition. This is our ability to directly reach and talk to our community at scale. So right now we have basically a pterodactyl running Zixi in the back room that's actually taking that back camera feed, sending it back up to Redmond, running it through our encoding platform. It's going through our ITX and our playout channels, and then delivering the message back here on Xbox One. There's, pretty wild, right? Ways for me to again fake this. And what you're watching is, if it's fully ramped, this is an 11 megabit feed minutes ago from the which is we call the interactive edition. This is now before we get too crazy and divergent, we're going to go ahead and not open up the Pandora's box of a black hole or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and switch the video to our Windows 10 Device Day event that will then carry the rest of the demo. But it was important for us to show the things that we go through from a broadcast standpoint, acquiring a signal, bringing it back to Xbox, and actually being able to do that live as a demo here for you all today. Obviously, there's a slight delay in being able to flip the video feed. But what we're doing is actually switching the event on our ITX system back on our master control switcher.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Microsoft
So here's the Windows 10 Device Day event.
briefing.
So when we were actually building out the client, we thought, how do we build it in a way where both we get the quality out of the broadcast, and how do we build features into the client that makes it easier for us to stream video online and do it at scale? So one of the things we thought about is, hey, why not do Chiron? Why not do key layers on the screen itself? So we can actually send one feed out and dirty it on the client level. So if we're in 42 countries and we're broadcasting live, we can actually take the ability to do these key graphics, and we can pre-localize them and then bring them up based on your time zone or your geolocation, right? So it means I've got one video feed going out, but I've got 42 of these key layers that can be activated at any given time. One of my engineers right here, Bryn Larson, is actually the one keying these things in here on his Surface Book. You can all check out his Surface Book. It's pretty cool after the event is done. So again, optimizing our video stream and our live events. One of the other things we thought about is, well, how do we build commerce in? We've seen kind of some examples of that. So during the course of the show, if Terry's on stage talking about Surface Book or the Lumia 950 phone, we can actually give the users the ability to go check out that other piece of content based on the narrative branching that we talked about earlier. And it takes about 2 or 3 seconds for us to pop these interactive experiences. This is all driven on Azure. So what he's doing is sending up to the cloud. The cloud is then checking in with the client then pulls the data. So what we're doing now is going off to watch this 950 Lumia video. What we've done with the live event from this perspective is we've paused and went into a DVR mode. So you're not actually losing out on anything from a live event perspective. I hit back or wait for the video to finish. We go right back into the broadcast where we left off. Seamless. Branching narrative experiences that doesn't take the user out of the engagement of the actual show. We still have the ability to monetize those guys because they haven't left the actual stream. They've just paused, so to speak. It's been quite powerful for us. Then the other thing is web ordering. How do you deal with web ordering? One, we saw how digital marketplace works on the Xbox One, but what about a web form? So we thought, okay, well, because we're in an ecosystem that allows us to essentially direct deep link into any different apps on the marketplace or on the console itself, why not deep link into Edge, and we pull up the web experience, and from this, you can actually do your pre-order directly within the console. And notice you're still watching the event here. There's still audio playing here, right? You're still in the event. Go ahead and snap back out of this. Go back to full screen. Very seamless, right? So what if we wanted to take people into the Xbox store? Well, we do very similar things to what we just saw with the web. We pop these offers, we take them digitally into our storefront, and this is actually the Xbox store. But again, we're still watching the live event. We're still in the event, we're still engaged. So we can all go check out this Halo content from a branching perspective. We're now researching kind of two different things, but we're not doing it in a way where we're sending the eyeballs away from the main screen. It's not a second screen experience, it's a main screen experience that's split, right? It's one thing that Smart Glass had against it. It was another device that you had in your living room. There was another device that you had sitting that you had to pay attention to during the course of a television experience. But because of the way we do things on Xbox, we decided to basically, how do we get rid of the old school textoid? How do we directly engage the audience without having them pick up their mobile device or their tablet? So we do interactive polling. The polling could be anything. Any question we can come up with. It's just got to be, somewhat pre-canned. We can typically get these things built and deployed within a couple minutes, depending on if we're doing a dynamic questioning. So, which 360 game am I excited to play on Xbox One with backwards compatibility? Well, I'm going to go with Borderlands. We get instant results from our user base. Those are user results that we can actually send back down again to the venue, to the live event site, talk to the show producers, the director, and do a dynamic change course of that live event in real time. And getting rid of the textoid was huge for us, right? How many shows do you watch on TV now that's like, go to xyz.com website and do your vote, right? Or pick up your phone and get hit for 95 cents a minute or whatever it is for texting. That polling engine that you saw with the result set too, that's a piece of software that my team actually built for the interactive polling. Because we wanted to be able to actually own the experience end to end, both the acquisition and coding, distribution, the client experiences. I think, what's next? What would we do? The what? Oh, okay. I thought there was maybe something. So so because of the way that we're actually engineered this particular client, we thought, well, why not give people something to do before and maybe after the event or during the event? So we built the ability to do essentially a game over the top of live video. This is a simple game, so if anybody remembers Breakout, right? So now we're playing Breakout over the top of Terry Myerson in his presentation. I don't know if Terry wants to hear that, but again, we're tracking our scores up here in the corner, how many balls we've actually used, and what the high score is. This actually plugs into a back-end system that we have for our leaderboards. We can actually, based on the audience engagement, we can actually take these result sets and actually display them in kind of a social fashion where the top 5 people who played this particular game in that moment in time wins a piece of swag or something. There's also, there's some kind of engagement there. There's some kind of model in which to reach out to the audience to bring them into the broadcast and not just let them sit in the living room on the couch. Because it doesn't do us any good, it doesn't do them any good, and we don't know if they've actually seen the messaging. If they've seen the messaging, they're going to engage, they're going to click, they're going to do something, right? So that gives us an opportunity for us to heartbeat the audience as well. So I think that's it for that demo right there. Go back to the laptop if we could. Oh, real quick. Actually, go back to Xbox real quick, sorry. One thing, we talked about multi-language. And if we can bring up the audio a little bit for Xbox.
#1 requested feature,
right?
The ability to play their Xbox 360.
So we're hearing Terry talk, but now we have the ability to actually ask the audience, well, would you rather hear it in French or Italian or German?
And there's no better
So during a live event, when we're doing UN-style language translation, we can directly reach our audience that maybe doesn't speak native English by giving them a German or French or Italian option, which is pretty powerful. And then we can turn on closed captioning. And again, this is signal coming all the way through our linear OTT system right now, back in Redmond, going out to the web, crisp, clean video. right? Like you're watching at home, hopefully. But anyways, so we'll flip back to the laptop. Ah, all right, I'm almost done. So you saw the video, you saw the demo, pretty impressive stuff. In conclusion, media is just getting bigger. Back in the 360 days, games on demand is 4 to 6 gigs in size. Now on the Xbox One, some of our package downloads are 95 gigs. Oh, for the love of everything holy. All right. Streaming is obviously killing physical media. We know that. We don't see any blockbusters around anymore. We don't see the corner store video rental places any longer. Everything's online. Everything's on demand. Our ability to wait for somebody or to go to a physical store to get something is going away. E-commerce is huge. It's the same thing with streaming. Bandwidth at home is increasing, paving the way for UHD and 4K. A couple years ago, it was if you had a 22 megabit connection at your house, you were super rock star. Now you're competing with your friends for 150, whoever sits on top of that hill, right? Now you've got some providers that are doing 1 gigabit in the house. What do you do with 1 gigabit per second of internet? That's a lot of Facebook, a lot of Netflix, right? I don't even think you could consume 1 gig unless you're running a live event out of your house. Services can no longer survive on a single platform. It's not all about the Windows ecosystem. It's about inclusion of all the other devices that people carry around with them today. Not everybody's going to be running a Windows phone. Not everybody's going to be running a Windows device. You see many times you go to some of these conferences, and you see people with a lot of Macs, right? Android devices. So we have to be inclusive not only to our own platform, but to everybody else that we want to actually reach our message to. Global scale is always going to be an issue. There's always going to be some last mile problem. But how do you combat with that? You have to lead with data. You have to figure out how your audience is actually consuming your event. And we build for live. We've taken the approach that we weren't just going to build an on-demand streaming service, because what's the fun in that? So we actually built for live broadcasting. We actually built for a live television network. And we get video on demand out of that as a kind of fallout. Again, make decisions on data. We look at data constantly, whether it's our load balancing data, whether it's our CDN telemetry, whether it's our client telemetry. We want to know what the frustration time is in the last mile. We want to know what the error rate is on the service. We want to know if our streams are actually making it to our customers. And again, when we talk about 99% offload or higher, our streams are getting out there at the edge. They're very proliferated out on that edge network. Concentrate on user journey. We spend so many hours and weeks focusing on what our customers go through. If you build a faulty experience for your customer, they're not going to come back. But if you build something that you yourself can enjoy, then that's something you can share with the rest of your community. TV is going interactive. From our standpoint, the idea of traditional television is kind of starting to die a bit, right? How do you keep the audience engaged in television when there's so many facets of media that are constantly bombarding them on a regular basis? You know, whether it's YouTube or Twitch or some other media site that's sending information with NBC, CBS, all these other broadcasters are going online streaming, right? They're not relying traditional broadcast technology anymore to get their message out, to get their content to market. So for us, directly engaging our audience, making them part of the broadcast, it's an evolutional step for us. And again, traditional broadcast ideas aren't going away. Even if you were to put everything you have in the cloud, you still need to be able to transition those traditional acquisition services to IP. Most cloud providers don't have a direct way to acquire satellite or fiber. So we have to use on-premise gear to do that IP conversion. And again, those who control clients in the ecosystem will control their destiny. we've made it a huge point for us, both at Xbox and Microsoft in general, to own as much as the delivery path as possible, whether it's from the CDN perspective, the client perspective, the encoding stack. We don't want to lose control of what happens in between my transmission point and my customer. And obviously, the more you control in that pipeline, the more rich data you're going to get out of the experience that the user's actually going through. And with that, I think I'm out of stuff to discuss here right now. So we'll go to Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Corey. First question to kick it off, and we are just going to take a couple of quick questions. Does Xbox plan to resell their platform to other broadcasters like Major League Baseball Advanced Media does?
We can certainly sit down and have a conversation about that. I'm not sure how MLBAM feels about that. But.
All right. Do we have another question? Raise your hand and state your name. There's a question right there in the middle of the room.
Yep.
Hang on just a second. Let's get the mic so we can hear you.
No problem. Thanks. State your name, please.
My name is Ravi. I wanted to ask a question about Xbox Live and original content production beyond live events.
Mm-hmm.
Are there plans for Microsoft to produce a live or on-demand dramatic series and compete head-to-head with Netflix, given the huge success of House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, or to a lesser extent, Hulu's The Awesomes?
I'm sure there's conversations going on internally, but at this time, I'm not privy to any conversations in that direction. We dabbled in it before in the space, and I'm not quite sure what the future holds in that regard.
All right, next question here.
Hi, I'm Janesh. I wanted to understand better how your ad stitching on the edge is different from ad stitching at the origin.
It's not really a whole lot different. It's just controlling the national broadcast spots in the broadcast. And then from a client stitching standpoint, we can actually give the power to the local programmer to do their own 2-minute block of advertising, say in Berlin or London or Tokyo. So we don't control the actual ads that go in there. There's some other entity that actually is building the ad programming for that particular market. So from that perspective, we monetize on the national spots, but we let the local advertisers program in their particular markets, which makes it a direct personal experience for those users, because now they're watching ads in their local market and they're not just watching something that we've pushed in there from Coke or Pepsi or whoever it happens to be, right?
Hi, I'm Tom. You talked about how ISPs are starting to increase bandwidth to homes, which is opening the way for things like UHD and 4K.
Yep.
Another thing ISPs are also starting to put data caps on home internet plans. Comcast recently announced that they're going to put a 300 gigabyte plan in place. To what extent is Microsoft concerned about ISP data caps, and are you doing anything to take that into account as you're planning out IPITV in the future?
Sure. So that's been a problem that's been around for years, though. The data cap in the user's home, it was 200 megs. It's now 1 gig. Now it's 3 gigs, right? So Comcast is only, and the other ISPs, I assume, are doing it too, because their own infrastructure can be overloaded by a degree of events like the Xbox One reveal, like Super Bowl, like the royal wedding. Those type of events can be internet killers, right? So they're protecting themselves by putting these artificial bandwidths in place as well. But I see that those bandwidth caps are going to continue to increase as their network infrastructure continues to evolve. But from a Microsoft perspective, we obviously want to have a good relationship with our ISP communities like Comcast and Time Warner. But we also can structure deals in which makes it easier for Xbox content to come in under the wire outside of those bandwidth caps as well, based on strategic business relationships and those kind of things. I'm not privy to any of those business relationships that are currently in place with Comcast or Time Warner or anything like that, but there's obviously peering points with ASNs and business relationships you can build that kind of allow the user to be able to consume media without being penalized, if that makes sense.
Question here.
Hi, Matthias. A quick question about Dash.
Yes. Sorry.
So are you gonna, when you implement Dash, are you gonna leave smooth streaming, or is it for a specific platform you're gonna do Dash?
Well, So smooth streaming is still the primary delivery mechanism for the Xbox. We assume that within the next 6 to 12 months, we're actually going to replace smooth delivery on the Xbox in favor of MPEG Dash. But primarily, smooth is still a good vehicle in which we can actually encode our signals because of multi-language and everything else to push to our origin. So maybe it becomes kind of like Betamax did back in the day, where it becomes now a back channel professional kind of streaming capability to get to origin as opposed to the user consumable VHS side.
Hello, yeah. My name is Andreas Damianum. Very informative. Here. Hello.
Where? Oh, sorry. My bad. I've got lights blinding me.
Very informative presentation. Thank you. You mentioned that to stream 11 languages, last year you used 44 streams, and this year only 4 streams.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit further how you did that? And also for the video on demand, you use only one video and embedded 11 audio tracks, language tracks, or is separate language tracks?
Yeah, so 2 years ago when we did the Xbox One reveal and even our E3 broadcast, when we had the 11 languages that we were doing UN style encoding, because we had to support HLS, because we had to support Flash on PC, because we had to support Smooth on console, for every one of those languages we had to stand up a separate feed. Right? So to support HLS broadcast for Apple across all 11 languages, we essentially had to stand up 11 languages, or 11 streams, because of the fact that the language selector in the client, and that's what's key, it's really about the client. If the client is able to be smart and intelligent about what it's actually reading from the file manifest, then we can do multi-language, and we only have to ship one video stream with the 11 languages embedded, right? As opposed to how we were doing it in the past, where the client was really chunky and clunky and didn't really work the way we wanted it to work. So what we've done with X1 has allowed us to do the optimizations that we couldn't do in the past.
All right, thank you so much to all of our questioners, and we do have a giveaway with the Xbox giveaway, and I'm going to let you pick. We wrote down all the names of our question askers. All right, open it up. Let's see who's the winner of the...
Ravi.
Ravi, winner of the Xbox. Congratulations. Also, nice big round of applause for Corey. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Please fill
everybody.
out your feedback forms, leave them on the table, and the show floor is now open.